Welcome to the Easier Way to Sell presentation of Close the Deal Without Selling. Here's your host and developer of the Easier Way to Sell, Ike Krieger.
Hey there, this is Ike Krieger. Welcome back. In this episode, we'll extend our conversation about rapport and relationship because the system won't work without it. And this includes a new technique for power listening. You'll learn a new batch of open-ended diagnostic questions because you can never have too many options, and we'll revisit the rules of selling, or the lack thereof. I'll share a slight variation on the rule about giving away valuable information for free. Plus, we'll cover one of my favorite communications tips pertaining to negative commands. And to close up this episode, we're going to be talking about a sales myth regarding the numbers game. Enjoy. Here's yet another set of open-ended questions that you can use during your diagnostic examination. You can never have too many options. What can I do to help you? What has to be done to start the process you believe you need to put in place? How would you explain that process? How effective is the process you have in place? What else can you tell me about the process? From what standpoint are you asking? What are some of the reasons your current process didn't work as well as you had hoped? What change do you believe will make the process work better? How will you know when the process is working? Okay, here's a couple things I'd like you to do with that batch of questions. First, I'd like you to memorize them. And second, I'd like you to internalize them so that when you deliver them, when you ask them, they come out as something about which you're curious, you're authentic, and you're neutral. In other words, you're not tied to your outcome. Here's something I recorded in 2008. Just before the first time I retired. Let's discuss the rules of selling. I would, but the rules of selling don't exist. There are no rules. I say it's time for rules. Sales rules that can be used by both you and your prospect. And once all parties agree to these rules, selling becomes a non-adversarial, collaborative communication. But I couldn't find any rules on how to have a non-adversarial, collaborative sales process with clients and prospects. Those rules didn't exist. So I invented a set of rules. And I have to tell you, along the way, I was pleased how effectively these rules worked. You may not be aware what this lack of sales rules is costing you, but if you're frustrated with long sales cycles, fed up with prospects that lead you on, tired of giving away valuable information for free, and are worried you might be coming off like a pushy salesman, I have only one bit of advice to offer, and that's follow my rules. They work. One of my favorite movies, and I guess I'm not alone, is Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. And when I finished hearing that piece that just completed, I thought of Butch Cassidy and the scene where the guy who plays Lurch in the Addams Family is challenging Butch for leadership of the gang. And as they're about to fight, Butch says, "So what are the rules?" And the guy looks at Butch and says, "Rules? There are no rules in a knife fight." At which point Butch kicks him right in the groin and the fight is over. So there were no rules. And second, when that kick occurred, I became clear on the difference between sympathy and empathy. All the women in the audience when that kick occurred felt sympathy. All the men in the audience felt empathy. You know what I mean? We spent almost an entire episode discussing how you should avoid giving away valuable information to your prospects, and that it's okay to give valuable information away to your clients. They're compensating you for that. So, even if you can't wait until they become clients, wait until you qualify your prospect before you give away any information. Avoid giving information that might help them solve their problem for free or at your expense. You provide a valuable problem-solving commodity. The idea that you would give away valuable information because it might stimulate a prospect to want your product even if they don't is foolish. Doctors and attorneys, for example, are trained from the get-go about the high value of their work. Learn that lesson yourself. Unless it's part of your business plan, you must never give away valuable information for free. Now, who would give away valuable information as part of their business plan? The people at a local yarn store actually teach customers to be more effective at knitting. They offer this service for free. Their goal is to sell more yarn. If they're able to teach someone how to be more effective at knitting, that individual will most likely buy more yarn. This is a perfect example of giving away valuable information for free as part of your business plan. Unless you can come up with a scenario like that for your business, don't do it. Let's do a listening exercise. We're going to focus on reflective or echo listening. Now, as the other person is communicating with you, find a word or a brief phrase that interests you or one that pertains to the direction you believe the communication should go to get the other person to their destination. Here's how you do it. You repeat back the word that you want to focus on and add a question mark. Here's an example. I found the meeting productive, but a bit long. Productive? Your question should imply that you would like more details on that which interests you. The other person will in most cases elaborate on the productive side of the equation. If you wanted to follow up on the boring side, you have that option available also. Reflective or echo listening lets you funnel the communication in any direction you would like it to go. This is a great tool. Use it. Plus, responding like this is another way to prove you are listening. Here's another blast from the past, probably recorded sometime between 2005 and 2008, when what you now know as the YES formula was referred to as the language of success. I promise you, you'll be able to recognize what I'm talking about. One thing is perfectly clear, and that's language is the key to success in life and in sales. I believe all things can be resolved in language. Effective communication is based on the effective use of language. When you communicate so effectively that no one can possibly misunderstand you, they'll misunderstand you. And this breakdown occurs based not so much on how or what you sell, but rather in what you say and how you say it when you sell. You need to be using a language of success. How you communicate with others and how you communicate with yourself is crucial. The language of success offers a different way to communicate effectively with people, and it just happens to work wonderfully when you sell. When you apply the language of success to your selling activities, you'll increase your sales effectiveness by 20 to 50%. No kidding. You may say that can't be done, but I'll say it can. Here's another review that I made available to my clients in approximately 2005.
Okay, we're going to review some of our thoughts on listening, and remember that people do things, buy things, and believe in things for their reasons, not ours. The question becomes, how do you find out their reasons? Well, I believe to ask questions and listen. And the first step in effective listening is to be quiet. Let's face it, we're dealing with a society where people listen to the salesperson and see the salesperson through a filter that the salesperson is out to manipulate them into buying something that they neither want nor need. How do we bypass this filter? How do you get those people to like you and trust you if that's the key to buying? Well, the more you get them to talk, the more they will trust you and like you. People buy from you or follow you because they trust you or they like you. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. People buy trust first. People buy products second. The secret is to be willing to let go of your need to sell and just listen. You can't establish trust if you don't listen. Here are some powerful quotes on the subject of listening. The first one by David Barkin. Easy listening exists only on the radio. Dean Rusk said, "The best way to persuade people is with your ears, by listening to them." Carl Menninger said, "Listening is a magnetic and strange thing, a creative force. The friends who listen to us are the ones we move toward. When we're listened to, it creates us, makes us unfold and expand." Henry David Thoreau said, "The greatest compliment that was ever paid me was when one asked me what I thought and attended to my answer." And finally, one of my favorite listening quotes of all time by Wilson Misner. "A good listener is not only popular everywhere, but after a while, he knows something."
I'm delighted to tell you about the Close the Deal Club. This club is an opportunity for you to receive ongoing support as you learn the easier way to sell. Your membership in the Close the Deal Club provides you with regular Close the Deal Club sessions where you can share your successes, get answers to your questions, and practice the easier way to sell with your peers in a safe and welcoming environment. Second, you'll get access to my webinars and workshops, each valued at $100 or more at a price never to exceed $10. You'll also get your personal copy of the Close the Deal Without Selling Action Guide and Training Manual. The hundreds of pages in this digital digest will help you learn or teach the easier way to sell. You'll receive a license to teach the easier way to sell, and you'll keep 100% of the revenue you generate for yourself. The only stipulation is all participants in your training program must be Close the Deal Club members also. And finally, you'll receive personal coaching by yours truly. Remember, for club members, I'm only an email away. Visit closethedealwithoutselling.com and join the club. Here's what I believe to be one of the greatest little communication tools you'll ever encounter. Use this tool in speaking to your prospects, to your colleagues, to your employees, to your superiors, to your family, and it will make a real difference in how people respond to you in your communication. Here's the tip.
Whatever follows a negative command cannot not be followed. Most people don't know what they want. They know what they don't want. So let me repeat that one again. Whatever follows a negative command cannot not be followed. We as humans have a tendency to tell people what we don't want them to do or where we don't want them to go, and the human brain really doesn't hear anything but the commands such as don't go in the street. All the mind hears and is thinking about is go in the street. Whatever follows the negative command cannot not be thought about. Instead of telling a child, don't go in the street, which makes him or her think about and be curious about what command could we offer that we can frame in the positive? How about stay on the sidewalk? Think of all the negative commands we hear and read on a daily basis. Don't be nervous. Don't speed. Don't be late. Don't act silly. Don't screw this one up. Let's practice a new way. What would be the way to state don't be nervous in the opposite or the positive? Stay calm. Instead of don't speed, how about follow the speed limit? Instead of don't be late, what if we constantly said be on time? What happens when you tell a child, don't act silly? What happens when you're told, don't look down? Or don't anything? All the mind hears is the command, and that's all that the human mind thinks about. You've probably been victimized by this next one yourself. You know the one I mean. Don't think of a pink elephant. Remember, state your commands in the positive. Listen to yourself for the next week or two, and when you catch yourself giving a negative command, restate the command in the positive. When I would be in front of a class, a group, or an organization, and I shared this story about whatever follows a negative command cannot not be followed, or the pink elephant story, I asked them to conduct this little experiment when they got home or back to their office. And I shared with them that if they use this experiment with or on someone they care about, just be nice. Ask them to go to the store and remember the bread and don't forget the milk, and see which one they bring home. One of the most energy-consuming sales myths is it's all a numbers game. Here's the belief. Throughout your sales experiences, you've been told, make enough contacts, make enough presentations, and you'll make your sales numbers. Work towards perfecting your presentation and your ability to overcome objections, and your closing ratio will improve. Problem is that this is only a partial myth because you do have to go through the numbers. But remember, even a blind squirrel finds some nuts. Your trouble occurs when you go through the numbers believing that you have to go all out with every prospect. When you play the traditional numbers game, you have the urge to give your sales presentation to as many people who you're able to hold captive for as long as the presentation takes. When you give a presentation to everyone you meet, you're expending an awful lot of time and energy on people who may or may not be qualified. And here's your solution. Go through the numbers, but present only to those who are truly qualified. You've been taught to be strong in the face of the no responses you'll receive because sooner or later, statistically, things will even out. In crunch time, you might even find yourself pitching to anyone who has a pulse. The old 3-foot rule is reborn. If anyone is within 3 feet of you, you have the obligation to let him or her know why he or she needs what you have to offer. Stop it right now. Use the yes formula to disqualify the prospect as a recipient for your problem-solving magic. In many cases, you can qualify or disqualify a prospect with a short, well-formed elevator pitch. Here's an example. You can imagine how a lot of salespeople become anxious or frustrated because of the nature of their job. Well, I teach an easier way to sell. Who comes to mind that might find that helpful? Remember, this system is about disqualification. You want to hear a no or a not interested as soon as possible, unless you like waiting for a no. Now, the prospect will respond in one of four ways to that elevator pitch. 1, I could use that. 2, I know someone who can use that. 3, I don't know anyone who can use that. And 4, go away from me. Save all the energy from those unnecessary presentations and transfer that time and focus into improving your questioning, listening, and overall communication skills. Okay, that completes another episode. So what am I going to tell you? Is practice. Just keep practicing. Practice makes perfect. So find a family member, a colleague, and do a diagnostic interview on them. Use the system. Use everything we've talked about. Put in echo listening. Put in everything that you have in your quiver in order to be a more effective communicator and obviously a more effective salesperson. This is Krieger. See you next time.